My husband and I and our 3 kids had just moved here from Chicago, and I think it was kind of like a divine intervention because we had gotten into the hotel, we weren't even moved into the house yet, and I had been contemplating going through yoga teacher training certification. And we got to the hotel and I sat down and grabbed a magazine that the hotel had and opened it up, and there's a picture of Lyft and a picture of Kim. And it said that teacher training was starting in a few weeks. And so I just knew, like I just felt that, come upon me of just absolutely, this is something I've got to do. And then I met Kim, and that just, I was sold from that point on.
Wow, I guess, and Kim is first and foremost so nurturing. Kim is genuine, Kim is authentic, and she really takes the time to get to know someone as a person and figure out what they need. I mean, I found that first as my yoga teacher, and then my yoga teacher trainer, however you say that. And both times I got so much out of it. She's incredibly smart. She has so many different yogic philosophies that she's able to put together into this really special style that you just want to emulate and go out and spread into the world. And yeah, Kim's a super special but super smart person and takes good care of us.
Wonderful. It's a good balance, very balanced. She has challenging, she offers lots of different types of challenges, but then there's such a spiritual side to her teaching that I think is missing sometimes in other classes that I've taken. I was very lucky, fortunate to find her.
Kim is completely one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. She's just so loving and giving of her time and her talents. And I think what I love most about Kim is that she is a student right along with you. She doesn't have all the answers, but she's confident and she has enough wisdom and experience to know where to go to get those answers. And so she doesn't take herself too seriously. She likes to have fun. She likes to joke around, but she is just so compassionate and giving, and you just never feel like although she is your teacher in many ways, she is right there with you, holding your hand and making you feel like you can do it.
Well, Kim calls herself a yoga mutt. And she is, and I am too. I like to practice every type of yoga in every studio that I possibly can, in every country that I possibly can. And I think that just makes it so awesome, because you might be doing some Kundalini practices and then some Vinyasa and then some Yin all in the same class, which is amazing. So as far as her physical style, I would say she just embodies all of it. She's studied a lot of it, and she tends to mold it together beautifully to where it doesn't feel like you're jumping around, but it just flows. She flows. She always flows in everything she does. There's no stop and start, and the class just flies by. Because of that. And then she brings just her beautiful heart into every class. She cares so much about every student that walks in the door, every student that goes through her training, and she probably cares about everybody she meets at the gas station, if I'm knowing this woman like I think I do. And that just comes through in her teaching. And it's like when you hear a good sermon at church and you think, man, they wrote that for me. I feel like everybody in her class feels that way when they take her class. At the end of class, they thought, she did that class for me. And she can do that I've seen her at outside public events with 60 people, and I truly believe everybody feels that way. Actually, 200 people at Avalon. And I feel like she can somehow reach in and connect with every single person because she's so genuine and she has such a beautiful heart. So her style is just, say it's genuine and beautiful like her.
So I had been contemplating it for a few years, but I used to work full time. And then shortly before we moved from Chicago down here to the Alpharetta area, I stopped working full time, and I had always just been contemplating it. And then when I saw that magazine ad, I just knew it was the right time for me to really deepen my practice. And I used to be, in my past life, I was a full-time teacher, and so teaching is always something that I've been passionate about and good at. And I wanted to, yoga was just this beautiful gift that I had been given, and I wanted to share that with others. It's like if you find a hidden treasure, you don't want to keep it all to yourself. You want to share that with people that you love and make their lives better the way that it's improved your life.
I'd say my main takeaways are continuing to weave all of the 8 limbs into my day-to-day life, how important it is for me as a person to practice that yoga every day. A very special part of yoga teacher training is you have to do it on your own sometimes. You can't just take a class. And for me to be able to have a home practice has really, really changed the amount of yoga that I do and has definitely improved my life.
I'm still learning. It definitely, I tend to be a person that compartmentalizes a lot of things in my life, past, present, and I think about the future a lot. And what yoga has helped me to do is stay in the present, not think about the past, which tends to maybe make us a little sad sometimes, not think too much about the future because that tends to make us very anxious. But yoga helps us to stay in the present, and I learned I could do that. And I don't think I'd really ever done that before, really diving deep through this training. So that was a beautiful gift. That was a gift. The other thing is, I've learned that our minds tell us stories. They're not always the truth. Sometimes the stories get out of control, and we can make things in our lives or in situations surrounding us a lot crazier than they really are. And yoga gives us that time to just stop, check in with ourselves, check in with our body, connect that with our mind and our breath, because our bodies never lie. We hold our stress in our bodies, in our hips, in our hamstrings, in our shoulders. And so in yoga, when you're doing these heart openers and you're opening your hips and you're releasing the stress, you're releasing emotions. And so for me, being a compartmentalizer, it did bring up some things from my past, and I was able to deal with those. So for me, this training ended up being a little bit therapeutic as well. So it's perfect to do it with Kim, who happens to be a therapist. So yeah, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that it's okay to be still. It's okay to be in the present and not necessarily think too far in the future. And it's okay to love yourself and forgive yourself and just be who you are.
So much. Well, not only did I learn how to teach, I learned proper form for the different postures, which is very important. But I also learned more about myself. We touched on all different aspects of yoga, and you hear the term yoga is for everyone, and I wasn't quite sure how that really applied, but after the training I realized there's the 8 limbs, there's so much more to yoga than just the postures, and Kim was just able to show us that. And mindfulness, that was something that, and it's a big buzzword right now, but I didn't really understand what that was, and going through the training after it, I try to practice more mindfulness in my day. I hope it's making me a better person. Maybe a little less stressed.
So every time I step on the mat or every time I teach, I'm using something that I learned during the teacher training. And so it's hard to find one specific thing that is a big takeaway, but I think one of the pieces of advice that Kim gave us when we were nearing the end and we had to start doing the community classes and teaching and getting up in front of an audience, not just ourselves, but outside of our group, is she said, feel the fear and do it anyway. And so I've been given these tools that allow me to feel the fear, to face the fear, and confidently go in front of that fear and tackle it, and to just realize that it's not as big as I make it in my mind to be. But the resources that I've gotten through the manual and through the books that we studied, and just the knowledge that I gained through Kim and my colleagues is something that I'm pulling from that every single day.
Everyone should take it. So, I mean, whether you want to teach or not, because it's just, if you love yoga and you want to deepen your practice, I mean, I can't even begin to express, like, I have truly, absolutely, to anyone who loves yoga,